How's it going, you guys? It's Will here, and if you've read the title, you know how excited I am to finally have this figure. After 5 long years of trying to hunt this figure down, I finally acquired it. Guys, it's the Bandai 50th Memorial Box Godzilla 1964. Oh yes, you guys, after 5 long years, right when I got Godzilla 65 from the Memorial Box, Godzilla 1984 from the Memorial Box, around that time, 5 years ago, I wanted to get Godzilla 64, and I've been on the hunt for him ever since, and I finally acquired him now. Better late than never, I guess, but guys, as of right now, this figure is like my favorite 6-inch Godzilla vinyl figure right now. Like, it's just so awesome. The Mosu Goji, always one of my favorite Godzilla suits, and this figure just captures the look of that suit so great. He captures the pose, the way Godzilla stands. It's just a really great figure. Like, it just captures the look very well. Much better than the NECA Godzilla 64. Much better than the YMSF one that came out around this time. Much better than the SH Monster Arts one, especially that one. I have the Emergence version of the SH Monster Arts figure, and that figure is in pieces right now, so yeah, I've always thought that this Memorial Box Godzilla 64 just captured that look, and especially the posture, that how Godzilla stands. This figure just always looked the best to me, out of all the 6-inch versions, so I'm finally happy to have this figure now, especially because Mosu Goji is one of my favorite Godzilla suits. Just such an iconic look for Godzilla, and this figure just captures it perfectly. And yes, this is the legit figure. I know there are some fakes of Godzilla 64 out there. The way you can tell if yours is legit is if the spines have highlights on them. The figure also has a more greenish tinge, which this one does. The fake or duplicate Godzilla 64s will come across as being more gray, and the spines won't have highlights. They'd be more grayish and more silver. And another way you can tell if your figure is legit is if your seller offers you the special card with it. So here is the Godzilla Memorial Box card for Godzilla vs. Mothra, or Mothra vs. Godzilla, my bad. So that's that. The Mosu Goji suit, screenshot from the movie, and nothing on the back. Yeah, the seller was really awesome enough to put this in a nice holder for me, so yeah. So guys, yep, Godzilla 1964 from the Memorial Box. He's just really great looking. I love looking at this figure from front on because that just looks so much like the Mosu Goji suit. He has the right posture. He's not like super hunched over, just slightly. And you got Godzilla's classic shiny eyebrows, and the arms are more pulled closer to the body. Like, it just captures the look and the stance of the 64 Godzilla just so well. Let's just get articulation out of the way real quick. So this Godzilla actually does have a movable head. Doesn't look like it at first, but it actually does. His arms. I don't want to scrape them against the thighs, but they do rotate. And of course, Godzilla does have articulation in the legs. Glue seal tail, but after how long it took me to find this figure and how rare it is, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to leave that alone. So real quick, I'll go ahead and compare Godzilla 1964 to my other favorite Godzilla that I have from the Memorial Box. That being Godzilla 1965. Oh yes, guys, I was super happy when I got this figure, but now I'm even more happy that I have 64 Godzilla. Probably because I love the Mosu Goji suit a little bit more than the Daisenso Goji, but Bandai did a great job on both figures. I think out of all the new sculpts that we got for the Memorial Box set, these two are probably my favorite, and I'm super happy now that I have them both, and they just look so cool next to each other, You can definitely see the similarities in the body structure for these two suits, but of course their heads and faces are totally different, but that's okay. Actually, while I have these two out side by side, let's go ahead and bring in Ultraman, because you guys know where I'm going with this. Oh yes, these two Godzilla suits are very famous in Super Mario Ultraman series, because these two Godzilla suits were used to create Godzilla clones. The 1964 Godzilla, its suit was used to create the monster Gomez in Ultra Q. And Gomez was a very interesting looking monster, He had this like weird shell on him. He had hair and tusks. He was a very, very weird looking monster. And then when Ultraman came out, they have the Godzilla clone known as Jiris. Oh yeah, everyone knows about Jiris, the Godzilla repainted with the frill. Now basically, Jiris was a combination of two Godzilla suits. So basically, they took the head of the 65 Godzilla, and they put the head on the body of the 64 Godzilla. Don't know why. I don't know why they wouldn't just use the whole Daisenzo Goji suit, but whatever. So basically, they couldn't reuse this whole 64 Godzilla suit for Jiris because the head was pretty warped and transformed when it turned into Gomez because he had the hair and the tusk, so they couldn't reuse that. And even if you look at the body of Jiris, if you just look at the body of that suit in the episode, it's pretty beat up. Like, you can tell it's an old suit. So basically, the body of Jiris is the 64 Godzilla, and the head is the 65 Godzilla. So yeah, it's just really cool to see these guys next to each other because Tsuburaya borrowed a lot of suits for Ultraman. He borrowed these two Godzilla suits. He borrowed Baragon, Showa Baragon suit to create several Ultraman monsters. But yeah, so it's just really cool to see these guys next to each other finally. Eventually, though, we will get a Gomez and a Jiris figure, hopefully soon, just so I can show you guys. Just how much they look like these Godzilla figures. And then just for fun, here's a quick shot of all of the Memorial Box Godzillas that I own. You know, Godzilla 1984, Godzilla 1964, 1965, Meltdown, and of course, Godzilla 2000. Now, being that this is the Godzilla from Mothra vs. Godzilla, I gotta compare him with the Mothra figure, right? Now, guys, the only Mothra figures that I own are Mothra Leo figures. You know, I'm not gonna pull out the Bandai Creation Rainbow Mothra because that figure is a little too small, so I gotta pull out the big guns. Rainbow Mothra from Rebirth of Mothra 2. Oh, yes. Now, this figure is much bigger than the Bandai Creation one, so this actually looks much more closer than the typical 6-inch Mothra figures. Because we know the original Mothra was actually bigger than Godzilla. Because it's seen when she's pulling his tail. This is actually much more accurate than the Bandai Creation Rainbow Mothra. So it does look pretty good. I feel like Leo could be a little bit bigger, probably like about this big to make it look more accurate. But this is definitely a lot closer than any of these 6-inch Mothra figures, you know? But obviously, if you want a more, you know, correct-looking Mothra, you can hunt down, you know, the standard size Mothras. I think the standard Mothra from Tokyo SOS would be a real great choice to pair up with this Godzilla. Alright guys, I got one more comparison to make. I'm not going to pull out the Monster Arts Godzilla 1964 because that figure is literally in pieces right now. Like, you look at it funny, the thing falls apart. Quality control Monster Arts. But we know NECA also made a Godzilla 1964 figure. And well, it's, I don't know. To me, there's no comparison, you know. But I do respect NECA for coming out with these Showa Godzillas, you know, making them pretty easy to access for fans who might want a representation of some of these early Showa Godzilla suits. You know, I like the 64 sculpt. You know, it looks good from this angle here. It looks good front on, in the face at least. You know, you got Godzilla's eyebrows. My biggest beef with NECA's 64 Godzilla, though, is just how hunched over Godzilla is. Like, the body posture is so weird to me. Like, 64 Godzilla stood only a little hunched over. He stood mostly straight, but he had a slight hunch on the top where his head goes. That's why I always say that the Memorial Box Godzilla 64 just captures the stance of that suit, like, perfectly. You know? NECA, I don't know what they were doing. Like, he's way too hunched over. So overall, you guys, like I said, as of right now, this is my favorite Bandai 6-inch Godzilla figure that I own, you know? They just did such a good job with the sculpt of this figure, the detail, you know? I don't even mind the fact that it's a green paint job, as a lot of those Memorial Box Godzillas were green. The green actually works for this figure. It makes it a little bit more unique. You know, it would be nice, though, like I said, if Bandai would do what they did with Godzilla 1984 and Godzilla 2000, re-release them in a Movie Monster Series line, give people who might want to get, you know, this figure and the sculpt in their collection a chance to get it, because we know the Memorial Box figures are hella rare and they go for ridiculous prices nowadays. So guys, I would say if you can come across this figure at a price you can afford, don't sleep on it, you know? Definitely pick it up. He will make a great addition to anyone's collection, especially if you're a fan of this suit. You know, I know I am, and I think this is the best 6-inch representation of the Mosu Goji suit out there. But alright guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you all for tuning in. It's great to be back. You know, I wanted to do something special for you guys, and I was super happy to get this, and I couldn't wait to review it for the channel. So guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for all your support always, and I'll see you in the next one.